There are so many wonderful existing applications in the world where they're saying we're AI first now, and we've got AI in the product. There's so many who are doing it well. I think like Notion is a good example of someone doing it well. I think Arc, which we're going to chat about, is someone doing it well, where they're moving. But then there's folks like Slack.
Airtable's doing it well.
Airtable's doing it great. Good call. And then there is Slack, which I'm at a loss as to what's going on there, because when I use Slack AI, often the summaries are longer than if I just read the messages. And it's got zero customization. You have no idea what kind of input it's using to create these summaries. And all it gives you is a date picker of how far back do you want to go. And I'm just blown away. At first, they started charging $10 a month for this as an add-on. Most people who aren't an enterprise are on a plan that's about $8 to $10 a month. So they were arguably charging more for their AI summary add-on and AI search than Slack actual experience. That is what brought everyone to that tool.
Their core product.
Yeah. So they did that for a while. I would hazard a guess no one was willing to pay that, which is why they've now made large part of it free or included in your existing plan. And it's terrible. It is just an example of the interface provides no context into its thinking or what its prompt is for reviewing. So you just have to trust it. But then you click into its sources, and somehow it got a 5 message back and forth wrong, even though all the text is there to summarize it. And then, like I said, the other half of the time, I feel like the summary is longer than if I just read it. So I'm sure
we actually had a client. We had a client that actually paid for it back when you could have Slack AI paid, and it was a bill, right? There was like 75-person company paid for Slack AI, partly because the thirst for implementing AI and to be on the cutting edge of the cutting edge, give me 10 minutes more a day, is so strong, right? So this client actually elected to pay for these features that are now free to everyone because no one else wanted to pay for it. And I mean, the channel summary is one thing. I'm happy you shared your experience. Have you used the Huddle summaries, the Huddle AI summary?
No, because I think like a lot of things I feel about Slack is everything other than the core experience that we signed up for that they've added on of lists and canvases and Huddles is like it's an inferior version of all the other things that we use. So we don't use Huddles.
Yeah. There's very few circumstances where we actually do use Huddles. The only circumstance really, or the most used circumstance is like the co-working channel. So we're a fully remote team. So if people want to just like hang out, listen to music and just like be available to chat with like office hours, that's the only circumstance that we regularly use Slack Huddles. And in those Slack Huddles, the AI summary has been basically giving us play-by-plays, right? But it's interesting because it includes timestamps and no recording. And you can't actually like reference the source material, right? Or you can't reference the transcript or anything, but it like still has timestamps on the summary. The summary is like halfway decent, sure. But I just thought that was like a little quirky. And that like question that you're poking at is what's the system prompt? How do you refine this? How do you, make it more useful and tailored to your organization? Like that's just completely devoid. It's just not there. There's no ability to do this. It's just Slack magic, and you are expected to put up with it and use it when it's really marginal at best.
Yeah, and I think we wanted to chat about it just because it's like kind of surprising that a company that is worth billions of dollars and has these giant teams, this is kind of, I would hope for more. And I'm hopeful, but at the same time, ever since Salesforce bought Slack, like it's 50% of their public marketing is, look at this Salesforce integration in Slack that's here now. Do you want enterprise? Do you want Salesforce? So I'm hopeful, but not optimistic.
It's half-baked at best.
Yeah.
Really. But
speaking of half-baked things,
what do you got?
AI browsers.
There's a lot of the discussion about that. Microsoft came out with its own AI browser recently, and our favorite browser, Arc, is now dead in favor of an AI browser, or it was originally dead and now it's revived. So now it's zombie Arc.
Yes, which I will still take over every other browser, and I still am in the Arc cult. But you've been trying their new one, which is why they're deprecating Arc.
I have been trying it, and like we briefly talked about it last week about like Arc versus Dia, and I have actually grown more cynical and angry with Dia since we last talked about it, because I need to be able to do some things that Dia can't do yet, because Arc, you know, was the original powerhouse of really niche features. And Dia just doesn't have that. It's really a lot more of a AI first experience where every new tab is a chat window essentially, which is kind of nice. You can have it respond to you in certain formats. Like I have a TLDR is the first thing it tells me, so I don't need to go through the super long response that sometimes it'll give on subjects. But more or less, I think Dia it's a great concept that will need love over the next couple of years. It's certainly not generating the cult following that Arc had.
No, an Arc, like for those who haven't used it, I love it because of its user experience, like the actual UX of the product, little things.
Yeah, why was Arc at least so revolutionary, if you can use that term for browsers?
Well, that's the thing. I think for something we all take for granted because we all use them every day, all day, that it's like a browser's a browser, whatever, just kind of like a hammer's a hammer. But by and large, it is a good example of taking things we take for granted and laying them out in a better way that makes it more efficient for you to use it. So I'm a huge keyboard shortcut fan. They have nailed that. It has a left-hand nav for bookmarks and tabs, which on its face sounds like a whatever thing. But once you get used to it, it's just wonderful. And then profiles and themes and all that fun stuff. But Arc as a company started with like a very cult following because they had this branding that felt kind of like old school bougie versus, you know, colorful bubbly letters like many SaaS companies do. But by and large, they really push the narrative of like browsers do suck. So why are we taking it for granted? Then they came and said, we're going to have an AI first browser and Arc is dead. They kind of announced a pre-funeral, which a lot of people freaked out about because their AI browser is not quite ready yet. You're back. People in video will have seen you disappear for 20 seconds, but you've been here the whole time and I've been rambling. And you're good. So they announced basically an AI browser is coming. And you've used it, and I've barely used it, and I'm happy to tell you why. I quickly went back to Arc, but I'm curious your experience with Dia.
My experience with Dia has been underwhelming. I didn't really set aside multiple hours to go through and relearn all the features. I also got really into like the keyboard shortcuts with Arc. Just navigating the internet was just so much faster having those keyboard shortcuts, and a lot of them aren't supported or they even changed in Dia, which is really infuriating. For whatever reason, you know, the ability to collapse the multi-tab sidebar is gone, or at least I haven't figured out how to re-enable the Command S shortcut of minimizing the sidebar, which is just really disappointing because it's so nice having a full screen view of the browser, of whatever you're actually looking at. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, like, talk a bit about the AI side. Like, what, I guess for those who don't know, explain what the AI side of Dia does and what doesn't it do yet that you wish it did that would make you all in on it.
Yeah. So the AI side of Dia, at the most fundamental level, it creates a chat for every new tab that you open. So you can chat with the tab like you would Command F. You can chat with whatever's rendered on that web page. If you open a new tab, that new tab window is a chat window first, so you can ask arbitrary questions or, you know, ask it to do whatever. And depending on the nature of the question, it actually changes to be Google or chat, which is kind of nice. Some things you want to Google, some things you want to chat about. And it does, pull up real sources. If you say, hey, what's the top news from, a reputable news source today, it'll, pull up a whole bunch of articles, and you can click and sort of have a view of that article on the side, which is nice. I don't know if that's really super revolutionary. I think some of the other browsers, Microsoft announced this week that they are adding like that chat ability to their tabs, and you can now chat with multiple tabs at the same time. Because wow, I think for me, the thing that would be really innovative here is if it was more directly connected to MCPs, and I could like actually use it as a command line, right? Where you could connect your Notion instance, connect your other tools or whatever, and ask it to do something, and it could actually do it. And it could be, the cloud-based terminal that you're kind of expecting or hoping that somebody will do the right way. That would be impressive to me, but I don't know if they're actually going there.
Yeah, I think one thing that you left out is recipes for their browser. So I think a big feature that they're promoting is, to your point, like a lot of this doesn't feel revolutionary. It's often with any feature in a product, it's how you package it up and sell it to people as a feature. And for them, recipes is really interesting because if you have a habit of watching, see, this is why it's early in the product. Their use cases, as an example, if you often watch YouTube videos and you want to extract recipes from them, you could build a AI recipe for Dia and say, extract YouTube recipes. And so if you're watching a cooking thing on YouTube and you want to extract a recipe that they're explaining throughout the video, it will do that because it knows then to go grab the transcript, run it through its, what you've asked of it, and give you a recipe. That kind of stuff could be useful, but there's not enough use cases on the internet that I've seen where I'm like, I need a recipe like that. I think it's the same as you can tell if the product has found good product market fit, I think, by the early use cases that the company promotes, which is why it's so laughable when like OpenAI announces agent and operator and they're like, look at how it can go figure out your travel for you and do all this booking. It's like, how often are people actually traveling that's a daily use case, that they're doing international trips and they need all this help figuring out flights and hotels?
And whereas you want to lose that context when you are doing research, right?
Well, yeah, which is besides the point. It's like the use case itself is like, if that's the best use case that you could position your product around, then you're not there yet. Versus going to the Notion or Airtable marketplaces or communities and all the templates that are there because, it's so clear what different use cases are across industries. Anyways, Dia's kind of use case is recipes where you can build stuff that, a quick slash command and you get it doing something for you on the internet. I just don't know that the chatbot paradigm with this kind of stuff is that useful because by and large, it's go find other sources on this news article, summarize this document for me, look across these two tabs and tell me the average whatever in spreadsheets. Like it's useful, but I find it takes about the same amount of time to just do it. And it should be saving time. So I'm hopeful. I think they'll find a better fit UX wise, and the agentic side of these things will get better, that like it can go do a bunch of stuff for you. But the fact that it's really only able to summarize or interact with like text that's on a page or go find text from other pages, I'm sticking with Arc for now.
Yeah. And I don't blame you. I might actually go back to Arc, to be honest, because like I miss a couple of the key features and I feel myself slowing down, which is not a fun feeling.
Yeah.
Not a fun feeling at all. But speaking of Arc's or Dia's implementation of AI, Google is also implementing AI in their search. They came out a few weeks ago talking about this new AI mode, but that's not only the only place that they're adding AI. Now Google is launching WebGuide, which is a new way that Google search will basically detect different parts of your query and group the results based on some AI's analysis of like tiering of the results. So if you ask for I forgot what the example was that they shared, but if you ask for like a recipe to bake a blueberry pie, there might be groups of different results that could be, the recipe for a blueberry pie, some other types of pie, or like just general recipes that might remove gluten or remove whatever, right? It's like related things that you would then be able to collapse and see these search results in a more of a categorical fashion.
Do you think they're trying to get ahead of essentially Claude and ChatGPT eating their lunch on SEO and kind of how people are looking for things?
Yeah, I think it is partly that. I think part of it is just trying to stay relevant, right? I know some people have like completely ditched the Google search in replace of just ChatGPTing everything. But I think there's inherent cloudiness that comes with relying so heavily on the AI because SEO is pretty transparent with how things were ranked, and generative engine optimization, GEO, as it's starting to become called, or SEO for generative, chat bots. That's a lot more of a black box. I don't know how you can get ranked and get recommended as the top spot on those things, at least consistently. That is not something that ChatGPT or Google has, published in a formulaic way to say, hey, this is how you get ranked and recommended more authentically and more consistently. Like that's another beast.
I'm curious to see when that comes because it's the same. Well, my hunch is it'll be the same progression as SEO. Of right now, it's the Wild West. Part of it is they don't know how the technology works. Like,
yeah,
they don't know that they're going to put in the same thing every time and get the same answer every time. But I think by and large, it's Wild West in terms of revenue creation and monopolistic tendencies of figuring this stuff out, like SEO and Google's anti-monopolistic stuff in the last few years. I'm curious to see if it progresses the same, as in this starts to become the norm to the point where it's mandated that they have to share a bit more about like how are people ranking and whatnot. Just like Google nowadays is much more transparent about like what impacts SEO and what do they favor and not favor and that kind of thing. I'm curious to see if that happens with all this over the next few years.
Yeah, I'm not super optimistic that the veil is going to be drawn back on some of these things. I mean, we've certainly gotten a bunch of recommendations or leads directly from ChatGPT, as I'm sure you have too, right? Like you've seen that in your Google Analytics traffic.
Yeah, like we use Fathom Analytics, and probably every other month for the last few months, ChatGPT has risen, or not for the last few months, for the last year, has risen from like 1% of your traffic to 3% to 6%. And now it's probably like we signed a client a week or two ago, and we always asked how to hear about us, and it was ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So I think this is Google getting ahead of it. Like this web guide side is them getting ahead of it. Last news piece of the week that we were talking about offline that we want to chat about.
Yes. Meta's super intelligence team.
Did you watch
bringing you personalized super intelligence
in glasses, and that is the peak of humanity. Did you watch Zuckerberg's actual video where he walks through his vision?
I saw one that was like, I don't know, 3 minutes long. Was there another one that I missed, or
no? I think that's the one I saw. I think that's his only one.
Yeah,
but it's just
he starts it with like, okay, let's start this thing, or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just
a very canned, authentic open.
I just have no what's the word I'm looking for? I have no excitement or optimism about Meta trying to lead any sort of AI race, because his vision, for those who haven't watched it, I suggest you watch the 3 minutes. His vision is painted as, we want to personalize AI for everyone. It's not just about super intelligence for science and figuring out how to do our jobs for us. It is every person should have a personalized experience in life, and therefore we're working towards glasses that you can look at things and it'll give you all the context. And it's just so obvious that like all of this is, we found the next place to put ad revenue and make recommendations based on what we want you to see, and all the things that people are starting to despise about social media. They just want to build AI around it, and it's so sad. It's not to say that, every other company building AI foundation or frontier models are saints and only have good intentions, but at the same time, this is just like depressing.
But ad revenue is the pinnacle business model, isn't it?
I mean, in a way, but but AI is so much bigger than that. Well,
yeah.
For some it is. It is. I get what you're saying, but I think it's just so pathetic that like this thing that could
That's the word. That's the word.
This thing that will be kind of society changing is being viewed as, well, in this capitalistic system, in one of the best business models possible, how do we make the chart go up and to the right? Glasses. Anyways, it's just, there's no vision there. No pun intended with glasses, but it's really just sad.
It's so chasing money for the sake of chasing money and ad revenue and like walled gardens, and he's gonna enjoy that. I'm sure he made that vision while he was at his 2,000-acre compound in Hawaii with tunnels and tree houses that he snaked through.
So that leads to, with GPT-5 coming in any day now, like in the next couple weeks, in terms of as a metric, in terms of excitement for each company about like if they figure this out first for AGI and ASI, what is your stack ranking right now of excitement levels for who figures it out? Like, who do you want to lead the pack?
Well, who do I want to lead the pack, or who I think will lead the pack? Right?
Like, let's go with both.
I think if you're looking at purely research and purely, I'd say proven track record, I think DeepMind and Google are the gorilla in the room that, they were losing the consumer side, but in terms of research bench and like actual like research-based models, like everybody else has learned from the patents and the discoveries that Google has made in the last 10, 15 years. Like they have, published way more papers and way more research than anyone else. So I think like Google is ironically the underdog, but also the gorilla in a lot of these environments. Do I want them to be first and actually find it? No, but I think they have the actual best shot of doing it because they're creating their own hardware, and because they have the actual hardware to run the models that they create. Like that's a whole other thing. Is even if you did give Anthropic or OpenAI or whoever or DeepSeek the actual AGI model, it couldn't serve the model to the people demanding it, and like that's a whole other crux. Once you can isolate it and have it, how do you actually serve it and allow it to be utilized? But I think right now I would like Anthropic to be the leader in like actually creating AGI, let alone ASI, because they seem to be alignment the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how you actually like can determine if that's true. That's just like the analysis that I'm getting is like, Anthropic prioritizes alignment, and that's kind of an important thing.
Oh, totally. I mean, all of it right now, it's such a tight and undefined race that it's like anyone who's doing anything more than finger in the wind analysis is faking it, in my opinion. So if that's your opinion, then that's, you read a lot of the stuff. And I largely agree. I think Google is more well-funded than their best shot next competitors. Like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google are probably the top three in terms of like who will get there first. And it's between all three of them. It's kind of anyone's game. But if you consider the logistics of what needs to happen and the money and infrastructure to do that, then Google probably has the best shot. I think followed very closely by OpenAI and then probably Anthropic. And who do I want? I would probably say OpenAI, because they're kind of the only AI first company, whereas everyone else other than Anthropic is trying to retrofit an existing business into all this. and back into it
Yeah.
to justify all the capital they're spending. So Google and Meta are two examples of like ad revenue is obviously top of mind. Not to mention Google has zero product vision since like under their current CEO. It's just decreased over time. They're a Me Too company in terms of everyone else is doing that. Okay, our phones now look like this. Okay, our products now have those features. So I don't see them with a product vision, but the APIs are what matter. So I'm curious. We'll see.
And the tech is crazy. Like I don't know if you saw this or learned this also. Like Veo 3 understands something fundamentally about physics based on watching YouTube videos. Like telling Veo 3 to generate a waterfall or whatever else, or knock a glass off the table and it falls off and it shatters, like as footage, that was not built into the model. That was learned from watching the billions of hours of YouTube videos, which is crazy that like it abstracted and understands something fundamental about the physics environment of video that we didn't explicitly teach it, which is just like a whole other mind warp. Like, wait, what is actually going on here, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited to see what I think the next year will become very clear who's in the lead. Like, I think all the current models are hitting the peak of what the current architecture can do, like the LLM architecture can do. So I think GPT-5 is going to be great, but probably not as exciting as a lot of people think it will be. But I think they're so close that like they're all working very hard on figuring out context windows, token limits. The reasoning models are largely, they figured out a lot there, but it's all being held back by context windows and token limits, which is just the current LLM architecture does not support enough with just throwing more compute at it that will be solved. It'll be improved, but it won't be solved for. And we need them to think like we as humans do, of like, oh, I remember that concert when I was 7 is related to my high school teacher when I was 16, which is related to this situation. Like those kinds of things that we as humans do. That's a year from now. I think it's going to be very interesting to have this conversation again of where are we at and who's going to lead and figure it out first. If they haven't already.
Scaling things aren't holding true though.
They are.
Aren't holding true.
Yeah,
which is like bananas.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it for this week.
You got to clean my palate, Justin. What do you have a palate? I have a good one.
Okay, you first.
All right. Who's on First by Abbott and Costello. Classic comedian skit, right? Classic. If you haven't heard it, you have to watch it. This is AI right now. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know. It's on third. You have to see it. You have to hear it. Please include the link for the Spotify in the show notes because it's a laugher and it's worth it.
It's a laugher. So speaking of Spotify, I have been listening to Linkin Park all day because I'm going to their concert next Friday. So we will not be able to record next Friday. But their new lead singer, I'm very excited to see because Chester, their lead singer, who just has one of the best rock voices of all time, passed away a few years ago. And this is their first tour with a new lead singer who she's fantastic on the album that I was listening to that I suggest giving a listen if you haven't listened to Linkin Park lately, because I know it's not 2006 anymore, but they're back and it's good, I think. But I'm seeing them next week, so I'm getting in the mood. Cool. Yep. Okay, well, I will chat with you next week, my friend.
See you later.
Ciao.